What's up, fam? It's Jay Rodriguez here. Thanks for joining us on a very special Vibe with Pride. I say very special because not only are the guests dynamic and interesting and fascinating and folks I just cannot wait to chat with, but this is our second this month. We decided to do two. There was so much talent, and also we just really feel that these next artists are folks that you need to know about if you don't already. We want to celebrate them here on Vibe with Pride. In case you didn't know, this is my partnership with San Diego Pride, who's had an incredible history of elevating LGBTQIA plus voices in spaces that allow us to really show who we are, not just as musicians or DJs or artists and performers, but as humans. And this is where we're going to get to unpack a lot of things that, you know, in a lot of other spaces we don't get to. If it's radio, you get a couple minutes. If it's TV, good luck getting on it. It's so tricky. And so we've created a space for our own to be able to share the stories that we'll pass on. And I hope that you'll enjoy this conversation with two incredible humans. First up, we have Lina Bradford. If you don't know who Lina is, I guarantee you probably do, because she turns the party everywhere. She's an absolute icon that I met in New York City, but her work has been global. It has been global. And after deciding who else should we have, I thought of artists and partnered with San Diego Pride, and we found an incredible artist who I think you're going to be as excited to chat with as I am. And that artist's name is CHAV. Oh gosh, I hope I didn't get it wrong, but you know me, I feel like I went from like the little boy on Queer Eye to suddenly I'm like Papi Rodriguez, where I can't remember a thing. Please welcome to the conversation, Lina Bradford and CHAV.
Did I get it even a little right? You killed it.
I did. Okay,
it was perfect. It was perfect. Rolled off the tongue.
Thank you so much for
a real honey.
I want to thank you both so much for joining me. I know that it's a crazy time and we're connecting virtually, and our hopes are to basically do this as a actual physical show at some point. But until we get there, I want to thank you both for just lending me a little bit of your time, and certainly for our viewers. By the way, I just want to remind our audience at any time you can feel free to put some questions in the comment section, and we will get to those at the end of the show. I want to start with you, Lina, because we go way back to my early days in New York City, which were probably, I think I got to New York City in 1999 after playing Angel and Rent for a year. I didn't really have much of an understanding about New York City queer history and the journey that really was what inspired my character, other than what I had seen on things like Paris is Burning or any of the kind of docu-movies. But our history, our story, it wasn't so easily accessible. We didn't have iPhones and things like that. And you are an entertainer. I met you as an entertainer, but you are also a DJ. I mean, you're a TV personality, all the things. And so I wanted you to just take us back to some of the photos and moments you've started sharing on social media. And I believe you call them Lina History Lessons or New York City Lina Lessons. And it's a beautiful way to kind of remind or educate kids on the family and the tribe that they come from. So can you give us a window into what it was like, certainly in nightlife and in queer spaces in the 90s and early 2000s?
That was so eloquently put, darling.
Oh, thank you
so much. That was a beautiful intro. And let me say to both of you, beautiful cherubs, it's so gorgeous to be with you both.
Oh, thank you.
You are stunning. Stunning.
Chav's gorge.
Oh
Chav
my
always
God,
looks,
so
serves
good.
the looks.
Oh,
Aria,
anyway.
we'll talk. I mean, I'm gonna gush plenty, I'm sure. But...
It'll be Wimbledon, honey. We'll do this
Okay, back and forth.
All right, let me take you black.
Yes.
All right, so New York, I always say, you know, you don't know where you're going if you don't know where you came from. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to do that hashtag. Because, you know, there's a whole contingent of children that are coming up these days that don't know about the legendary spaces that made it possible for them all to hold hands and walk out the house with all this faggotry, get married, act and do all these things that they're doing. And so when you don't have that to look back at, it becomes a disconnect. And and there's a lot of things that you can't Google that you will get through a conversation with your living legends and the people who really are iconic. And both of those words are used so loosely these days. It's so iconic. It's so legendary, but you don't know what that means. You know, I'm a wordist. You know, I have my own language, but I'm a wordist, and I'm about the realness of it. You know, let's not be superficial with all this carrying on and kiki. Let's be real with it and find that, you know, this all extends from somewhere and know where it's coming from. And not everything is a riff from Paris is Burning, baby. New York is so huge. There's so many other things and so many other references that you all need to know about and see. And yes, honey, on my YouTube station, I have my editor throw up all these throwbacks from Beta and VHS, honey, because I am archivist. I have everything. So New York was a raw, circle of love and light of everything that it was that we were going through with the darkness of the plague with AIDS. ACT UP was happening. New York was alive, you know, and we've always flourished from moments that we were having a dip in the financial industry. Always made people be more colorful. The underground literally was the underground, and it was everything. I mean, thank God we didn't have these devices and people all up in your grill. You were making moments.
I would not be here today. I would not be allowed to be here
there.
Today.
You know what? Like you were meeting your best friends and people, all the people that I came up with, you know, we are all still friends and all doing wonderful things. I mean, Rue, Bunny, all of us, we all came up the same time in the late 80s. You know what I mean? So it's like, it was a beautiful tribe, and just see so many brothers and sisters that are still here that we need to talk about. Let's not talk about them after they've gone to the next place. You know, why is it that there's only that spoken memorial of them on Pride after they've already gone? It's like, baby, they're still here, honey. Let's get real with that. Let's do a documentary. Let's do the real show. You know, because some of these shows that are out there, yeah, they are educating people on a larger mass, but they're also, it's like, if you're going to do it, go big or go home with it. Like, there should be people who are still living and a part of that time and that movement that made this all possible there. You should be seeing and hearing these people instead of young chicken McNuggets who know nothing about it, but they need to be told about it. I'm not taking away from them, but honey, listen, let's get down to the grassroots and find out what this realty is.
Yeah. First of all, hey, thank you for starting this off with a smash. I love it. I love it. I love it. I mean, I feel very much, you know, as someone who's kind of always been in the middle, I was the baby and everything. And even between my two Queer Eye generations, my cast is 10 years older than me. Yeah. I'm sort of the same age as half of the cast on the new Queer Eye. And then the rest are like a decade younger than them. And so I've always felt in this weird middle ground of like trying to hold space for both, but knowing that I didn't see a whole lot of myself reflected, and certainly in media. And the only place I felt really seen was nightlife and some of the places like you described in New York. It made me find myself. And Chav, I want to talk to you a bit about how, you know, you have a beautiful description of how what your work is and who you are. You see, you're a pop musician and cultural scientist, which I freaking loved. And you also said you're a princess from a different storyline. And I just think about how much I wish I had the courage to have expressed myself more authentically as you are now. So tell us a little bit more about your artistry, who you are as a human today.
Yeah, I mean, first, Lina, thank you so much for just that spiel, right? That was, for me, like, we all are in these little bubbles right now. And having a moment to hear your voice in that way is honestly such a treat. And we don't get a chance to experience that the way that we would typically be doing that. And I'm so thankful for that.
Thank you.
So much of my work is a recognition of the journey.
Hmm.
And specifically, like one of my first singles I released is called Patient Zero. And the whole idea was Patient Zero is I was living in New York and I realized there was a whole history and a legacy and a community of artists that were no longer with us, some of which are very much alive and well, that a lot of queer folks online, a lot of queer folks on TikTok don't necessarily know these origins. Now, I'm very much still a student and will forever be. But for me, it's so important for our work to get to a point where I could be a pop star, be a pop princess, and reference and acknowledge my ancestors in that way. Because ultimately, we live on a plane in which we are someone else's ancestors as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of my work is really about that. It's about understanding that the universe lives within us. We are vast. And that's kind of where the idea of, being a pop princess from an alternate timeline came from. It was less of a concept and more of it's how I feel. I feel like I'm able to channel the variations of myself. I'm able to channel my ancestors in this way. That's why my music is so varied, where I can switch from hyper pop to R&B to all these different movements, because these are my ancestors saying, I want to talk. I have something to say. And I'm happy to be a medium for that.
You are boom, boom.
First of all, let's just talk about this moment. I'm like, where's the night where CHAV is performing and Lina's spinning? I'm like, that's
a night. That's
Let me
coming.
tell you something. You put this tall sound together lovely, because I'm listening to this cherub and I'm just like, I'm a princess of light, honey. So you and I,
yeah,
and I'm baby. We're gonna be getting each other's information after
I'm
this.
just getting to know CHAV, and I'm just literally like, this is it's literally when there is such ageism in the community. And as I started as a young person, 18, in Rent on Broadway, all that, and the journey, I was always a baby. And as I get older now in my 40s, I recognize the silencing of some voices in the community as we get older. And because our voices didn't have a TikTok or an Instagram to document them on, it's almost like they're less than. And I'm so actually thankful for this new generation of kids who are using social media for good, because there's a lot of issues that are going on right now that they're keenly aware of. It's in their DNA now. Mm-hmm. They understand that, we have a higher rate of Black trans women murdered in our communities and in the world at large that is being unspoken. And this generation feels like there's something wrong with that, as opposed to perhaps previous generations where it was just the community outrage. It seems like we've gathered more allies. But Lina, I want to talk to you about, you have always been like almost like a guru in many ways. If I have conversations with you, the way I feel after the conversation is blessed. I feel like you give me a blessing with your words. And I think part of it, and I could be just projecting this, is just what you've survived, what you've conquered, the kind of doors you've broken open. But in the wake of that, you've also had to hold, like many of us, those that we've lost. So when we talk about the loss of Black trans lives specifically, how do you navigate that for this journey that seems like now there's some voice and we're hearing it from government that it's an issue, but it took a long damn time?
You preface it and set up things so beautifully, I have to tell you, darling. Like, right? I mean, honestly, Jay, a real gift that you've always had, but you have really shown your shit, honey. It's stunning. On that note, for me, I'm a light worker, you know what I mean? And I mean light. And for me, meeting people prior to where I am, I'm a bit of everyone that it is that I've met. So for me, growing up in Manhattan, it was all about me knowing my brothers and sisters that paved the way, and doing the homework, and knowing what my ground was. You know what I mean? Knowing what the roots that were coming up through the cracks in Manhattan and everywhere else. So for me, being an only child, I collected it like I did my Barbies, the acknowledgement. So that going forward through everything, there were no hurdles, because I was already blessed with all of that situation, from the acknowledgement that I'd gotten from when I left the house, and then everything that it was that I schooled myself along the way. So I've always been right for my blood type that way, and keeping myself very open to everything, and also sharing my acknowledgement. And no one wants anybody going like this to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I present and I put through there, like you were saying, when I talk to you, people leave feeling good, because when you have that lining inside of you, sweetheart, that's all that comes out. You know what I mean? Like, it takes more energy to be boogie and ugly than it does to be nice. You know, we all come into this planet, this world, this womb, whatever your situation is, with good intentions. You know what I mean? All that other mascara, honey, is taught.
Yeah.
So, you know, me seeing how the trans community, getting to what you were saying about that, how it was back then. Listen, work was work. And so, especially nowadays, these kids have no reason to call anybody out for anything when everybody is, what's it on that thing that they're doing? OnlyFans.
OnlyFans. Yeah.
Okay. But guess what, honey? Back in the day, it wasn't called OnlyFans. It was called survival at its fittest. And those girls, you know, knock on anything, had not the opportunity to have the focus, the limelight shined on them. They were working down in the meatpacking district, and lucky if they made it through the night. But they were strong, and they all were a sisterhood. They were a tribe, and they took care of each other. If one girl was in trouble down the street, honey, all the rest of these bitches came rolling. You know what I mean? And that's something that has always been synonymous in the trans, especially the minority trans community. And to see the visibility that is now being put on that contingency, about damn time.
Yeah.
Because for so long, the white cis gay men ignored the fact that Stonewall was Black trans women. But yet it's cute on Halloween to get up in the yags, swing and knock your neck, cluck, and act like a Black woman. But then when you need the people to show up for the cause, they're nowhere to be found. But guess what? You get to go back to being a Caucasian white man in your privileged life. But these Black women have to still live their life and do their thing. And social media and TV is no better for it. They're no better for it. We are all so brainwashed in this country and in this world. And you know what? Some of us are I've been guilty of it and didn't even know. And I'm a biracial child. I like to try to keep myself, like I said, you know, very open and real with it. But, you know, listen, when you were coming to this world, baby, from the jump, from TV to ads to everything, it's all washed. It's all washed. So finally, those blinders are coming out. And like you said, the younger contingents of children that are coming up, honey, they're everything. They cannot be bothered with all this. Oh my God, this is what I'm eating and this is what I look like. You know what I mean? Okay, yeah, that serves a purpose for a hot minute, but where's the substance? These kids are coming with a substance. They're also so proactive. They're on their politics. Like, they're going to slam dunk this next situation. And I am not worried, and it's nice to see.
Yeah, it's kind of great to see. And, you know, I mean, you, CHAV, you've been touring with artists that I've spoken to, that I've interviewed, who are incredible allies to the community. In 2019, you toured with Dorian Electra, who I've interviewed and I adore, specifically because the way that they were handled in media was so jarring to me, and some of the kind of, I don't want to say hate, but some of the not understanding them was shocking to me, but then yet kind of not surprising. And you toured with them. You also opened for Ali X in Chicago. You danced for Charlie XCX and Brooke Candy, all allies of our community. Must have been an insane ride. So can you share what that experience was like for you? And then also kind of like maybe a funny memory or some memory that was like, this was cute.
Absolutely. I think before that, I just want, again, like I'm just so humbled to chat in this way. I'm going to be a broken record, and I will be that, because that's what I'll be.
Gratitude is everything, baby.
The way that you are able to channel your stories, your trauma in that way, that is work. That is years of storytelling and refinement to a point in which you are able to give less than 3 minutes of a story, of a journey, of a life. And there's much on the cutting room floor. And I think I recognize a lot of myself, and I'm so thankful just to be in your presence in that
I
way,
see the
because
theme in you, baby. So trust, honey. I
really
feel you.
truly like Tribe. And I think that is one of the things that I hope to bring to our scene. Read Dorian Electra, read Charlie XCX is I'm a trans Black person in these spaces. Now, pop is mad white. It's super white. And to get to a certain level of pop, it still becomes very white. And what's really interesting is that we are in a cultural shift in seeing trans artists, non-binary artists get to that main stage, that main platform. And right now, it's just like, I think the thing that was the most exciting about being on tour is going into these small cities where they don't have LA gay clubs, they don't have New York gay clubs. We're in Utah, honey. It's it's a small theater and they barely wanted to have us. And we're bringing our fantasy, our full self, our full breath to these spaces, and being able for them to see me on stage and my glam and my beard and all my ness is something for them. And I think it's also, for me, it's like showing them what spectrum of Blackness can look like. That's really the thesis of my work, is that I exist in all my forms and I channel that in order to share and to give other people range as well. Honestly, that is the most beautiful thing that I've been able to take out of being on tour and being in this lane of artists, is being able to share my nuance, our nuance.
I'm hit with that because I didn't grow up that way, and I think the times where I look back, I've been going through old photos because we didn't have social media back then. I've been going through old photos, and I can see the ways I was trying to channel pieces of myself, and I remember the people that told me not to, and they were gay, queer people, and it just, to see you is such a beacon of hope of what the world can have access to. Because I remember growing up in a born-again Christian home on Long Island, not knowing what gay was, because, to be honest, the internet was new when I was like 17, 16. It took 45 minutes to get to a nipple, and by that point, TRL was on and back.
That dial
something good.
No.
I had no idea of what it was. Never mind gender expression and the fluidity and being able to live in all the spaces. And if you've been on my social media, I still kind of lean into the fullness of all the colors that I represent. Yeah. And that, to this day, in some spaces is highly unwelcomed, because some people really would prefer that I stick to a more heteronormative path.
It makes them feel uncomfortable.
It's not.
And again, that's the brainwashing.
It's never been me. It's never, and I'm sure I've coded to fit in certain situations, but the truth is, that's not at my core. I know nothing other than when I hit this pillow at the end of the night, I gotta feel good about me.
That's right.
And so looking at you, CHAV, and just this whole journey that you're having, it gives me hope that you're creating more space for other people your age and in this generation of music to feel seen and inspired to be more authentically them. Lina, I want to talk to you about In the Dollhouse, which, by the way, is fantastic. It's Lina's chat show. I cannot wait till I'm an invited guest on that show.
You're on next season, sweetheart.
Perfect. Tell us a little bit about it, for those who don't know what the show is all about. Tell us about that. And your featured guests are amazing. They're people you actually know. It was kind of like you comedically gave us a window into like some history, but also like a good kiki. So tell the kids about In the Dollhouse.
So, thank you, sweetheart. I created this talk show that I always wanted to do. Growing up playing with Barbies from the age of 4 and putting them in different scenarios. And
how many do you have? Because you've mentioned now Barbies. How many?
It's been the last time I counted was probably about 657, but it's been a while. I haven't counted in a couple of years, but there's quite a few.
Got it. Got a couple.
I've always wanted to do a talk show, including my beautiful color array of, Taste of Skittles, the Rainbow Friends, and having the dolls be the background, and having great conversations, intellectual funniness, all of the stuff, and creating fun games and just great conversations. And season 1 was basically kind of like all right, let's just see what this is all about. And get your feet wet, find out. Season 2 was okay. This is what's up. Now season 3 drops on my birthday, April 14th, and it's the first time I've now had 2 guests. So I've got 1 physical guest and then 1 virtual guest, because these are times we're living in. So
I get you.
It's going to be very, 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 and mind you, season 3, I'm exactly where I need to be with this. And it's been a hiatus. I was on hiatus for 3 years because, mother had to do things,
Yeah.
and there's no rush. You got to take your time. I'm a very patient person, or else I would not be here today. So everything that it is that I'm doing, I'm a juggler. I'm an Aries witch. So, she's got that cauldron, honey, and she's constantly mixing it up in the mix, honey, along with the music and everything else. So,
CHAV, I honestly cannot wait until I can take you to like a Lina event, because
I'm
I
ready.
mean, when she spins, it's a show, and she's also like blessing the audience with music, but it's literally, I'm not a big dance person, but like I will dance my dad moves at a Lina event. It's a whole thing. But let's talk about your music a bit, CHAV. You were saying earlier, you were giving us glimpses but in your bio it says CHAV's clever wordplay shines through a series of melodic suites, which I love, because I remember the first time that I had like a showcase for a label. I just did a little bit of everything to be like, I'm kind of all these things. And it wasn't so supported, but I love that you're allowing space for that. And you say each song is a universe in itself, complete with a dazzling imagery, which clearly is you, and to fully envelop the listener in a new destination. So I love music that's transformative and sort of takes us to another place, which I remember, I said the story, I think last time, but when I was doing Rent on Broadway, 9/11 happened, and the producers came on stage 2 days after when we had to go back to work, and they said there's gonna be less people in the audience than there are on stage. It's your job as an entertainer to take them away for a little while. And I think your music does that. So can you share a little bit about why you decided to kind of make your music sort of all the colors you are and all the vibes? Because, you said it earlier, some people would be like, you're this, boop,
Yeah, I think that's often what the pop industry wants you to be. They want you to know your brand and deliver at all costs. But I think that we all know, as human people who walk this earth, this rock floating in the sky, that we are so many things in the corners of our heart, in the corners of our room. And so as I was working on this body of work, I was just, I was fearful. I would lean into different things for one session. I would work with another producer. It would sound like this. And I was like, this is great. And this is great over there. But are these the same artists? Will people be confused? And a lot of times when you're dealing with a commercial audience, you really have to give it the lowest common denominator, because people don't always get it, And I think the reason why I describe the work as world building is that it's reading your favorite comic book or your favorite series of dolls, and you want to climb into that collection and all those collector items, and like, oh my god, it came with this and it came with that, and then you can't wait for the next thing. For me, pop music
completely different.
And it could be completely different. And I think that I wanted people, and I'm still in my early breaths as an artist, and I wanted people to know that, hey, you don't see me how I see me, but believe me, it gets good. Like, we're gonna like keep building here. And just so you know, don't get comfortable.
Right.
Like, it looks like this today and it's gonna look like that tomorrow, but enjoy the ride, because we are a spectrum of self.
Music is supposed to be about a journey. So you can't ever, I know myself, I'm a child salad with music. So I'd like to be put on a journey, and I don't want to hear the same thing all the time.
So Lina, share this with me, because I think CHAV, you're on the same wave here. So unpack this for me, because when I go to your nights, I was sharing earlier on my lives talking about this, and big shout out to the Jaybirds. When you spin, your references and your inspirations are so varied, yet you make them all work together. And so therefore you take people like me who ain't trying to be on the dance floor, step touching, and I will bust out. And I think part of it is, like, I always say, you spin music for the soul, but the genre is always ever changing. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming that's deliberate, and that's just what inspires 100%. You.
Like, for me, my schooling goes with everything that it is I do. If it's a conversation, if it's an acting, if we're speaking with young children, if it's music, you and I are so on the same vibe. Like I'm
Y'all
ever
are.
changing. Like I can't ever feel like I'm flatlining if I'm constantly doing the same thing. If I'm not getting off, you're not getting off. So trust me, I got to keep on switching this up, honey. I'm a shifter, sugar, from the looks to the music to the beats to everything, because I don't feel the same all the time.
And
But one thing I always feel
unapologetically
is
so.
soulful.
Yes. And there's the I think the thing I like and I admire, and I think part of what big shout out to Gardenia who set this all up, and we were and we were chatting about who should be on and who together. I think one of the things she shared is that she knew right away, because she knows you separately, she knew right away that this would be a perfect fit. And I think I'm obviously seeing so many shades of that, but it's a beautiful thing because there's an unapologetic nature that so many people are trying to get to, that you're living authentically through your respective arts, which I think is beautiful.
100%. I think that you and I are literally, I mean, it may physically be different forms and yet the same, but timing. But me and this one, honey, we knew each other in a whole nother time, honey, because I'm looking at you and I'm like, I see myself.
Yes, completely sourced for me, for certainly. Like it's honestly just like boggling. I'm on this thing and sometimes you're like mistakes. Right, like nothing to say, just happy to be here.
No, I just want to grab that face.
No, but I also think it's living unapologetically and also living heartfully through the work are two things, and sometimes that's at odds with some people. And what I really appreciate about today's conversation is that it's about the combination of those two places,
right?
Because so much of our lives as people of color is truly like, it's trauma, and it's also extreme brightness. It's also extreme health. It's also extreme range. And that's what I appreciate about this conversation. After being in this quarantine, having to share my thoughts with myself and maybe a producer if they're down to have that discourse. That's what's so beautiful about things like this, is getting an opportunity to share the spectrum of self.
I'm so with you on that. And speaking of that light and that joy and that kind of vibration level, I have never experienced anything like that until I went to Fire Island for the first time. And Carson Kressley, who I did queer with, was always going, and I don't know, I kind of always thought like it was something for rich people or whatever. And I remember being nervous, but also you have to understand, I grew up on Long Island. So those who don't know, Long Island's like a fish like this, right? Okay, we're gonna do it like this. And Fire Island's down here, right? So it runs parallel to Long Island where I grew up. And I just knew that, like, where is it? Here, like, a 35-minute or 20-minute drive would take me to that place that had all the people that made Jesus throw up. Like that was what I was fed.
Yeah.
So I was so traumatized. And then I remember like kind of not thinking would be a place for me. And Carson was like, I'm renting a house. You don't have to pay anything. It's a 2-bedroom. And I was like, free? Ah, man. And so I went to Fire Island with Carson, and it was the most iconic experience. And I went back a bunch of times that summer and then moved here, and I haven't been back since. But Lina, you are really the queen of Fire Island. And why I say this is because Fire Island has history as a queer safe space. There's a couple locations.
And a queer gay white place.
Oh, okay. Well, tell me. Let me know. All
right,
share it with me.
What had happened was...
No.
Hold on a minute. Let me get my vibe with pride.
I was, at the time, this is probably like 2004.
Yeah.
I was DJing at Barracuda, and Sean Patrick Ryan came up to me and he's like, Lina, I think you would be amazing DJing out in Fire Island. I'm like, what? Now, mind you, I had gone out to Fire Island like way back in the day, late 70s or whatever. And, it was always just like, this isn't my thing. I appreciate it, but it wasn't my thing. And, Fire Island at that time had gone through a really low place, the morning parties, a lot of people had pulled out. They stopped buying houses out there. They were selling it, just after the whole AIDS thing, it became a whole different thing. So you have to remember that it was not what it was at 2004 when they opened in 2005. And I was like, at the time in the summers, I was already spinning in Saint-Tropez and Sardinia. So I was like,
That's the
I
other
don't know,
piece
but
here.
then
Let
I
me
say-
just say this. Like, okay, Lena's spinning globally, like at like all the Kikis, like internationally. Like, honey, she has 600 and some odd Barbies for a reason, children. Okay, but anyway, carry on. I'm sorry. I just had to throw that in.
But humble as the days in hotel, honey.
Yeah, she is.
And so I said, you know what? I will take the Pepsi challenge. There's a reason why, the goddesses put me together with this situation. And you know what? Shake the dice, steal the rice. Let's find out. If I don't like it, I can always go black. So I said, all right, I will. I got asked to do one gig, and it was on a Saturday night. It was going to be Lina's Lounge. And it was the first time they were ever going to have a second tea, because, normally it's just the low tea at the Blue Whale from like 5 to like 7-ish. Like 6:30, and then now they were going to have an outdoor tea upstairs outside of the pavilion, which they had never had before. It was only just a cassette player playing a tape, and people would just go up there, listen to music, and then go home and get ready for dinner, and then go to
the club
late night.
You basically you do the beach, you do like tea. They call it tea.
Everybody did tea. Yeah.
Right, and then you go out and you like after
have
tea,
dinner, then you go
dinner.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a whole routine.
It was a whole routine, and so I was like, all right, well, let's see what this is about. And people were like, yo, Lena's going out to the island to DJ. Like, it was a big thing because, one, I'm a biracial child, honey, of another experience that was not the experience going on out there.
True.
But I said that there was a reason why I was being asked to do this. So, and obviously we found out what that was. I did, and literally by the first week, because, there was a lot of press prior to, there was like a line down the boardwalk to get up in there to find out what this was all about. Now, mind you, knowing the history of what the music was and how things were curated, I didn't want to feel like I was coming in and, stepping on anybody's toes or, just being like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. No, I was very thoughtful of all of those things. That's just who I am as a person, especially coming into a place that had a lot of history and didn't have any of this. And I think that that's the whole reason why I was so successful out there, is because I embraced and I embodied everyone. And then next thing you know, it became so big that I was then doing low tea. And then I would rush upstairs, do Lena's Lounge, and then I was spinning Pavilion at night. So I was doing all three. That I ended up moving out there after 2 months. And then next thing you know, it's like I had been there for 10 years, and on my 10-year anniversary, I left. So it's been like 6 years now that I've left. But it became a whole thing. Like, I created Thursday nights, I did my Rewind Thursday, which was, a mixture of between like 70s and 80s. My Friday was my Lena's Lounge, soulful house music. Saturday, go big or go home, bigger beats. And then Sunday, my TBS Throwback Sunday classic disco. So I had these children going, honey, and I would live there from April 1st. I would open my house, and I'd be there until like mid-October. Then I'd visit my sister Candace in LA for a month, and I was living in London at the time. So then I would go to London November 1st, and then I would be there until right before April.
Chav, we're going. We are going.
We're going.
No, I'm not there anymore.
We're going.
How else to say this, but
I'm not there anymore. I left 6 years ago, but I haven't been back.
Okay, well, we're going to
wherever you're at.
Events.
Wherever you're at.
Right.
What you just described, whether it doesn't matter the location,
No, it does not.
We'll be there.
We're definitely coming, and we want to wear.
I'm bi-coastal. I have a home in LA, honey. I've been here for the last year, but honey, trust me, when I get black to Lavoisier, that's what I call LA. We're all getting together for a good old cocktail.
Yes. Shab, let's just go. So listen, Shab, we were talking about all this kind of stuff that we've done and we've accomplished, and we've sort of worked through and found, our authenticity within that. But what is it yet that you still have your eyes on that hasn't quite something you haven't done yet that you're really hoping to do? Or you have on your vision board, whatever, is what something you want to do that you haven't quite done yet?
Yeah, just primetime fame.
Yes.
I mean, the thing is that like I've been working in this space for the last 7 years, but like I'm finally getting to that point where I'm cashing in my chips. I'm like I've been door to door. I'm working on the visuals. I'm got the getting the looks down and know how to work with my creative teams, and I'm just excited about having audiences, like the thing is that like, and all the people that follow me now, they're just so beautiful. And I can just feel how like seen they feel when they interact with my work. And I think the thing that I'm looking forward to the most is continuing that. Being on tour with Dorian was such a beautiful experience, and we were getting ready to go to Europe when everything started kind of going down, but touring was like, that's the vibe.
Yeah,
I'm literally in real time, like, as a person who really values marketing and market research, those are real time opportunities to hear what the kids want, what they vibe with, what's the stories that they want to hear,
and school them,
like, and I think that's one I just can't wait to get back on the road, creating opportunities to just connect with people, connect with these kids.
Can I say something? I don't want to cut you up. We're all doing that right now. Look what we're doing right now.
Totally.
I think that, like, something that you said earlier on your IG live before you did this, Jay, is that, look, we're creative people. We had to find a new groove. This is a whole new gig for all of us, and as artists, darling, we don't have it like, other people, our thing is being out there with people. That's how we do this, but we've learned a new way to do this. So what we need to do is we need to keep that empathy that we've found through all of this. Also, get more involved. I mean, this is how you get a whole new audience that you wouldn't have gotten before.
Yeah.
100%. 100%.
I agree. Listen, I want to, so first of all, Chav, I love you so much, and I cannot wait to be able to hang out, because I'm like, now you stuck with me. Now I know where you live. I'll find you now.
Come through.
Yeah. Let's talk, Lina. I want to talk a little bit about, so many of the people who, I don't know if you know this about your sistrix, but your sister, Candace Kane, and I were in dance class. This guy named Brian and Glenn, they were these two gay men. Yes. And we were at Broadway Dance Center taking dance classes. I know. And I was Angel and Ray. And when I came to the Broadway show, I realized that they were like dancing. And I was like, in my show, I was like, ding, 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 ding. Like, I was cute, but I wasn't like giving it. So I was like, I'm going to go take dance classes. And there was this tall, gorgeous blonde who was in my class. Now, in Canada's Rent, where I first originated the role, one of the people who really kind of raised me, because I sort of got kicked out of my house and everything, was this woman named Rosie, and she happened to be a trans woman who had served in the Canadian Army and everything. And every night after, like, 3 times a week at least, I mean, usually 5, she would make me buffalo chicken wings and a brown cow. And I was 18, so she was serving me when I was illegal. It was like Kahlua and cream, and I was like our snack. And she would tell me about stories about her life. And like, then I came to New York, and I met Candace. I did not know Candace was a trans woman. I had no idea. She looked so Cindy Crawford-esque, and I didn't really, I don't know. I knew trans women, but I didn't know. And I remember Candace and I talking after class, because she was the freaking ballerina of the room, mean, like, she was serving, and we were all like, it's supposed to be intermediate, like, where you're kind of okay.
Right.
And so she was like, oh my God. She's like, what do you, I was like, oh, I have a show if you want to come. She's like, I have a show if you want to come. And I was like, where's yours? And she was like, Barracuda. And she's like, where's yours? I was like, Rent on Broadway, but I can't even get into Barracuda. I'm like 19. She's like, I got you. Yeah. And so these are the icons I think of when I think of New York City. I think Candace Kane, I think Sherry Vine, I think of so many other iconic people like Joey Arias and Lady Bunny, and all these incredible artists that were your actual tribe. Yeah. Like, you post videos and pictures of these folks. So, in the essence of having a good kiki, let me sip my wine. Are there any? Everyone's got their what? Cheers, girls.
Children.
Are there any stories that you feel comfortable? Maybe they shared it in the dollhouse, but something you can give us a little kiki about one of these, icons from back in the day who are still with us and killing it.
And it's funny. Everyone that you named has been on past seasons of the Dollhouse, and actually Joey's on this season.
Okay, love.
God damn. I mean, there's so many. I mean, like, Joey and Candace and I were the twins of New York back in the day.
Yes, they used to do like twin acts. So
yeah,
they used to do like numbers. Yeah.
Our shit's so simpatico, it's disgusting.
They were like Chicago. It was Roxy Hart and Velma, but all the time, and it was so good. It was so good, yeah.
And twin looks, everything. Like,
the whole thing. Yeah.
There was a party that was called Fuck NYC. And
Okay.
it was a party that we did, not in New York, but it traveled. So we would like all be on a bus, and it was a bus, and traveling from city to city, bringing Fuck NYC to Montreal, to Chicago, to Ohio, to Boston, like you name it. And it's all of us, and a few more, all these personalities on a bus. You could only imagine back in the day, from the early 90s to the late 90s, of all the shenanigans and foolishness. And guess what? Mother was like this. Taking pictures of everything, honey. So when I bust out these pictures and I show them, they're like this. I'm like, see. But then also just remember, it was such a wonderful time to just be so vulnerable and to be so present, because you didn't have a phone. Like those things, those memories and those kikis, baby, they live with me on the daily. And they live through the new people that I meet who hear these stories, you know, and they see these pictures like the hashtag of, you know, NYC Lina Lesson, you know, Lina Lessons. Those things are important. You know, you got to know your tribe. Those are the people who will be there and help you through everything, especially in this industry that we work in, y'all. It's fucked up, but we love it and we don't know anything else.
Yeah.
So if you have good intentions and you live right for your blood type, you will not get caught up in that mascara because you got those good people who've got your back.
Ben Mendoza share. So great for y'all dropping the truths. Thank you, Ben, for that comment. By the way, if you are looking to ask any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section because we're about to get to those in a minute. I want to ask you each, but I'm going to start with Chav. Reflecting on the past year, which obviously has been different. I consider myself a gig worker. I have been hustling and working on TV. Thankfully, last year I had a couple things, acting and things worked out a little bit there. But I see myself as a gig worker, and I learned a lot about things I didn't know about Jay this past year. So do you feel like there's something, a takeaway for you that happened within the 12 months, or something you learned about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, the biggest thing is that, you know, I'm from Indiana, I'm from the Midwest, and I grew up pretty poor, but I went to very affluent white high schools, middle school. So I was like going home and
Me
was
too, by the way.
right.
I grew up poor, and my mom would drop me off at a friend's house and say I lived there so I could go to the better school. Yeah.
Very that. I felt like the apartment complex that I lived in, it was like, oh, we need to diversify this old school. Let's go ahead and bring these black and brown kids here. And a lot of my experience was so much around code switching, having to learn how to be likable, how to learn how to be commercial for these white kids, if I wanted to have the mobility that I saw them have. And I think, you know, that kind of hunted me and was with me up until, you know, quarantine. You know, very much of my life of being a pop artist is understanding how I can make myself this small so people get it, so they can understand where I'm coming from, and I can start here and I can add some more. And I think something that I'm realizing is that I can't keep leaving myself at the door in that way anymore. You know, and I think that like it's been a lesson I've been slowly learning over the years. But as I'm like very much in these conversations, very much in these meetings with, you know, music executives and them trying to understand who I should be in these spaces, I have to show up and arrive with my fullness, or they will apply whatever they want to apply to my Black body. And if I truly want to be a beacon to other queer, brown, Black artists, I need to be standing in myself in these conversations.
I agree.
In hopes for that when they get into these rooms, they don't have to do the soft shoe that I was doing to get to the room.
Honey, listen, you're talking to someone that, yes, I get the soft shoe. I get it. And I'm having this year was like an odd moment of reckoning where it was like, this year, every cast of everything I've ever done wanted to do a reunion virtual thing, which was wonderful. But I was like, am I dying? Like, it was like, this is your life. But it was also reflective of what the experience was like at the height of those moments, many of which were in the early 2000s. And there was no room or space for people of color, and certainly not anyone who presented off the binary. So thank you for that share. I really appreciate that. I want to create some room for just some rapid fire silly questions while we get the viewer questions in here. By the way, viewers, feel free to add your questions into the comments section. I see we already got a couple, but before we get to those, I'm going to ask you some quick questions. These are just off the top of your head, just first thing that comes to mind. Lina, after doing a show or a set, what is your favorite post-show treat? Is she hungry? Is she getting a pizza, donut?
Prayer.
Prayer.
I pray all the time, honey. I kid you not.
Yes.
I will walk down the street, and if I feel I got to do a prayer, I hold on to something, honey, and I'm like this. It is synonymous with everything it is that I do, honey. So prayer and then a good nosh.
Shop has the same question after a show, or you like that, like you literally just open for Charlie XCX. You're like, oh my, what? Then what is like the craving you have after a show?
I'm honestly not. I'm not eating after a show. Like there's no food. Like hopefully I ate an hour before I started drinking for the warm up drink.
Okay.
For the warm up cocktail, and then after the show, I'm just trying to like get back into myself. I mean, I don't struggle with food, but I have a lot of allergies. So like I'm mostly just trying to like clear my stomach out for the end of the day.
Right.
Ain't no eating, okay?
Got you.
It's not a sexy, cute, glamorous answer, honey.
I love that.
Self-care.
Listen, I get it. What is your favorite Pride memory, Lina? You've been to a bunch, as have I. Do you have a memory that really sticks out for you?
I think probably the first one that I participated in was one with me and Can, like in the very early 90s. It was just so fun and carefree. I mean, we were like this big. We were hungry. We looked sickening, and we could be on that float for 8 hours, honey, dancing, and we felt like what? Now,
let me tell you something.
Like this, oh, Lord Jesus.
The first time I was in the New York City, the only time I was ever in the New York City Pride was during Queer Eye, and they gave us each a Beetle, and I had my boyfriend drive at the time drive it, and they didn't tell us it was going to be 18 hours long, or however long it is.
Marathon.
So there we are.
It's always super hot too.
And we had already thought ahead to go ahead and like make some drinks and put them in like, you know, Gatorade bottles, but no one told us there was no bathroom. So I remember we had these convertible Beetles, and I was sitting on the trunk of it, and I'm like, and then I was like, babe, I have to pee. And he's like,
running you to a store. Yep.
I didn't. Girl, we just put the hood up. We put the hood and the Beetle up. And
No.
I was like, in a Gatorade bottle, like in the corner. I did. I honestly, is too honest. Let me just ask this to Chav. What is your, if you have any, or if there's a list, you've worked with great people already, is there a dream partner or collab that right now you're like, that would be so epic for me?
I mean, honestly, like Lina, at this point, like it's so.
I agree.
At this point, like there's so many beautiful
we
people
are still working together, honey.
Yeah, I see. There's a lot.
I'm not concerned.
As soon as we go off of this, honey, I'm gonna be sending that.
Right. I'm absolutely not concerned. But you know, I love Frank Ocean. I love Gaga. I mean, there's so many places that I want to live in and occupy. You know, like. What's up?
Well,
I'm down to work.
I just feel like this is the universe or God or spirit or whatever you believe in that just kind of ordained this all to happen because
thank you, Jay.
Well,
right.
Thank you, Gardenia. This is I knew I wanted Lina on the show, and Chav, I got introduced to you a couple months ago, and I've been trolling your social media ever since, and so inspired by you. This is the kind of magic that Vibe with Pride is meant to be about. So let me go to some of the viewer questions. Kendall's asking if, and feel free either of you to chime in with this. Do you have a favorite performance that just like sticks out for you that you were like, to this day, I still remember that moment?
I don't want to sound cheesy, but I'm grateful for everything, and I don't want to make one bigger or better than the other. Every experience that I get to spin, if I'm doing music, is a gift. In any country, any city, it doesn't matter how many people, I'm a grateful person. So for me, every moment that it is that I can be present and people are feeling my vibe and we can Wimbledon back and forth with energy, I'm with that.
Love. Chav?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's very much the same vibe. Like every opportunity is a blessing. Every time there's a moment like this where we can share ourselves in our fullness is an opportunity to open up windows for people, to open up doors for people, to open up doors in terms of my own creativity. All of them are really important and special. Every single
Let,
one of them.
let me stay with you, Shaw, for a second, and Lina, feel free to chime in after. But Ben Mendoza is asking, what advice do you have for a queer person of color struggling with claiming the title of artist?
You're an artist. If you're claiming I don't know whether I'm an artist or not, when is it appropriate? You're an artist, and that turmoil will never go away. You're always going to feel this imposter syndrome as you continue to grow in yourself, as you continue to learn more about the areas, uh, gather skill sets, gather connections and resources. You're always going to question yourself, and at some point you have to say, no, I am that person. I belong here.
You
I
can't
belong
sell
here.
it if you ain't buying it, honey.
Right. For the back row and the front row.
Yes. So this is just a great plug. But this happens organically due to Brandon, who put in a question saying, what projects do you have coming up? So this is just a way for you each to kind of share how people can find you and what they should be looking out for. This is from Brando Theodore. Brando Theodore. I don't know how to say it. Listen, it is what it is. So Lina, what's coming up? I mean, do we have another? Well, people can watch.
So much. Some projects I can't speak about, but obviously my live IGs on Tuesday and
well, we don't
Friday.
have to talk about our OnlyFans collab here. Just a nice little callback to that joke.
Your fears. Tuesday and Friday, my Lina's Lounge on Friday and my Rewind on Tuesday.
And that's on Instagram. And by the way, we've linked. We're linking Lina's social media here. Everyone's
on Instagram starting on my birthday, April 14th. And I also have a new TV show that I'm going to be working on that I'm really, really excited about. Coming later on this summer. We're going to start filming it because now we can in the pandemic. And just another couple of other great things. But most importantly, honey, any moment and anything that it is that I'm doing, I will always be there for my music because that gives me the resuscitation that I need every day in this life, honey. So
I always said it's like a blessing. It's a weird way to describe it, but it's like, even for non-spiritual folk, the only word I can use is you leave blessed. I don't know how else to describe it. Shav, how can the folks find you, and what else should we be mindful of as we look out to support you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm on all the social channels. I'm
and
everywhere. Come through.
At the moment.
Come through. Come say hi. I'm not that cute. I'm happy to chat.
I mean, you're pretty cute.
Really cute.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
Are they single? Are you each? I know Lina's got a love.
Yeah, 8 years now.
Amazing.
You know what? You know what's actually so crazy, and we're just among friends right now.
Honestly, it's just us.
It's just. I actually just got married this past weekend.
Oh, cute boy. I can't.
That is amazing.
Yeah, me and my partner, we moved to this beautiful home in Venice, and there's a gorgeous garden, and we're like, cool. This is a moment for us to just do it really small, intimate.
Amazing.
Thank you. My partner is a big part of my project. They're my manager. We also started my label Flat Pop Records together. A lot of things are changing. I'm gearing up for my first album, so it just felt like the right moment to do that.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
I love it so much. Thank you all for watching. I want to thank our guest today, Lina Bradford, and of course, Shav, for being so open and vulnerable. See, these are the kind of conversations that we don't have enough of, but we are so thankful that San Diego Pride is partnering with me and you, the viewer, for supporting these kind of conversations. They're important. They document our history. But the best thing is they connect us all to feel like a closer sense of global consciousness that right now is needed more than ever before. I am so humbled to be your host, Jay Rodriguez. You've been watching Vibe with Pride. Whatever your vibe is, you're always welcome to vibe with us here. Have a great night. Stay safe. I'll see you soon. I'm going to go cry my bed. I'm single, so I'm going to go cry.
Baby, I'm going to reach out to you. You